Hey, thank you so much for clicking on this video. It means a lot to me. If you clicked on this, you're obviously interested in budgeting or taking control of your life financially, or maybe you're just in a pinch because of the pandemic. Well, if any of those topics relate to you and you want to know more, stick around to the end of the video. What's happening, everyone? My name is Jake. I make lifestyle videos and vlogs and kind of just videos to help other people out. During this pandemic, I decided to start a YouTube account because I really like taking photos and doing videography stuff. And it's kind of morphed into this platform where I can learn from other people and then also kind of help other people out through my experiences. So today we are sitting down with Kyle Fowler. He is can I say CEO?
You can say the chief creative officer. You can say whatever you
You're
want.
the inventor. You came up with this. You are the sole purpose of this whole video. Flip the script, financial, counseling? Financial coaching. There it is. I remember Flip the Script because Kyle, I actually worked with I don't want to use that verb, but his wife Ashley. And so starting off the bat, this video is, because I trust them and I saw the success that Kyle was doing with this, and I wanted to kind of figure out some more stuff and then experience it and share my experience with the course that he put together. There's 4 courses on there? 4 or 5?
There's 2 courses.
2 courses.
Two big courses, yeah.
They have like 36, 37 lessons within those courses, correct? Perfect. Yeah. So without further ado, let me just introduce you to Kyle. Kyle, do you want to talk a little bit about why you came up with this and you started this?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, my wife and I climbed out of our own financial mess, and we had made quite the mess to the tune of $114,000. And so we kind of had that's it. I've had it. Something has to change. And so we decided to take control, and it took us 26 months to pay it all off. But through that process, we learned a lot about ourselves and learned a lot about money, especially learned how to talk to each other about money, how to talk to other people about money. And in the process of that, I started helping people do the same things that Ashley and I were doing. And that spurred me into, I've always enjoyed teaching. I haven't really wanted to be a teacher per se, but I've always enjoyed teaching and helping. And this was a goal for me to help give back to other people who experience the same kind of frustrations and things that I felt about money.
Absolutely. And you said that you paid off $114,000 in 26 months? That's what, 36
It was
months.
113,996, but I rounded up $4
right
to 114. But it was originally 107, 328 and 49 cents. And this was our payoff thermometer. But the thing is that we didn't, so we just kind of went up the list, but we hadn't even accounted for the interest or taxes or our phones. Right. We didn't count those as things we needed to pay off. So there were some extra things to add in.
Even with that, like that is relatively, I guess everything is relative now, but relatively that is such a short amount of time, comparatively, I guess I should say, to if I was in that much debt, which I am in debt, not that much, but that's just on me. I sometimes think I'm never going to pay this off. I'm going to be 80 years old and still with this amount, if not more. So diving into the course that I did, the budget bootcamp course, it really showed me how to be, one of the key points that you talk about is honesty and being honest with yourself and with your budget. You say how it's really 20% numbers and 80% mindset. And I didn't really understand that until I started, writing my numbers down. We all have this idea of like, okay, I'm $10,000 in credit card debt, or my rent is this, or my mortgage is this, or whatever it may be. But until we actually write it down, um, it's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, that's around what I'm paying. But you really need to like say, okay, no, I'm going to take that 20% of just the numbers, because they're all right there. You can look it up. And
Yeah.
once you write it down, there's almost like, for me at least, there was like a weight that was lifted. It was all laid out. And that's one of the first steps that you do. And after that, it just becomes the mindset of, okay, I got that scary thing out of the way first, and now I'm going to work on training my mind to benefit from getting rid of that, or saving, or whatever it may be. So that was, we have fire trucks outside of our house right now. So sorry, I was a little taken off guard
Is your
there.
apartment on fire? Are you
Uh,
okay?
no, but my house was actually almost hit by a tornado. The street across from us is destroyed when Orlando got that bad tornado. So
Oh man.
I have a little PTSD, I think. But anyway, one of the great things that I loved about your course was that you give a workbook that allows you to write your numbers in it. So it's not just like, okay, this is what you should do. It's very interactive, I should say. I did it on my iPad. I downloaded it, and so I just was writing, and it was nice to have the course and then my workbook next to me. And then ultimately, I said this before, I trust you guys. I think the first step, like anything, is admitting, not even you have a problem, but admitting what you're trying to do. Admitting if you're trying to save, if you're trying to pay off debt, if you're trying to, whatever it may be financially, you have to really commit to, okay, this is what I want to get out of. It's like going to the gym. Like, you can't just be like, I wish that I wasn't, the weight that I was, and just keep wishing that one day it's going to go away. You have to take the mindset and say, okay, the number is 100 and whatever pounds, and I want to get down by this, and this is the time frame, and this is the means of what I want to do. So that was kind of my little like testimony of how I felt with it.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously the title of the course was Budget Bootcamp. So my first question to you is, if you could define budget, what would you say that a budget is?
Oh, a budget is, well, it's described as telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. That's probably the simplest way to put it. The budget is the tool that you need. It's not the only tool in your tool belt, but without a budget, you can't properly assess where those numbers are actually going. And you can't really, what am I trying to say? You can't go after what you were describing as I call it your why, your reason for wanting to get through this financial struggle, or to figure this out, or to, to organize it all. It's you. What are you working towards? What is that you want ultimately? My wife and I have a family, and we want to be able to travel. And we were putting so many restrictions on ourselves by taking on as much debt as we did, which society makes it so easy. Society makes it so easy to get into debt. You talked about how quick we paid stuff off, 26 months, but we got into that debt a lot quicker than
Absolutely.
26 months. And so in the grand scheme of things, was it worth the 2 years? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because after that, then everything unlocks and opens up. But when you look at your budget, you should be able to see your why.
Yeah.
Oh, there's not really a lot on here for eating out. Well, that's because I'm doing that so that I can work towards something else.
Right.
But yeah, so much of it is about your mindset. I mean, if Ashley and I hadn't already been in the mindset of something has to change, and we know that we need to change it, if we had written down $107,328.49 on a piece of paper before that moment, it would have been terrifying and overwhelming, and I think we would have backed away from it. We already knew we needed to do something to change that situation. And so when we listed it out, we went, well, that sucks. Let's do it. So we weren't afraid of it. We just saw it for what it was.
Yeah. Something that one of my mottos for performing or going on stage or doing anything really that is going to make me nervous or scared is leaning into the uncomfort. So if you're
Mm.
uncomfortable, you really need to start training your mind. And that's a whole nother thing that we can spend hours talking about. But um, leaning into that comfort. And I really think I'm really happy that I took the time to not just um, say, okay, let me try to do this because I'm in debt and I want money. But really understanding, like you said, I want to travel. I want to be able to move whenever I want, or I want to be able to take care of people. Something that I learned in one of your courses, or one of the lessons in the course, was um, one of the last steps of getting out of debt or getting financially stable is building wealth and then giving back. Um, and I think that's really something that I value. And I don't know if I'm ever going to have children or ever going to get married or, buy a house or any of that right now. But I do know that I want to be able to financially support my own self and also support my family, whether that be my closest friends or my parents or anything like that. One of my goals, one of my reasons why is I want to buy my mom a car. They've helped me out so much. I want to buy my dad a car. Like I just want to be able to say, okay, I struggled, you struggled, but I took control of the situation and now I can give back. So that was also one of the highlights for me is reading that part. But I also kind of want to, if you take this course, you'll see it's all listed out for you. But that's like the seventh step. It's like one of the last steps. And I'm like, but I want to do that now.
You can.
You can. Um, but I think it's important to almost like a relationship. One, like I said before, be honest, and also um, trust, and also be accountable for, okay, you, like you said, you can do that now, but what are you going to take away? Something that before I started this, I was like, but I like getting Starbucks every day. So what would you say to someone that's like, I spend $4.25 on a venti iced coffee every day at Starbucks, and I don't know if I can give that up? What would you say to them?
I would say you don't have to give anything up. You decide what you give up and what you don't give up. I mean, you know this, I never tell
Yeah.
people what to do with their money. And if you want to spend money on Starbucks every day, make the decision to do that. But once you learn how to manage what you have, then you can adjust it however you want.
Yeah.
You design your own plan. You just have to learn how it all works.
Yeah.
And so if you decide, no, I need my Starbucks every day, well, then you know that you need to budget, whatever, $75 a month or whatever it is. But then you also know, because now we've talked about what that means, we know that at $5 a day over the course of 40 years is that could have been $1 million in your account.
Right.
Instead of investing it, you chose to spend it on Starbucks. So it's weighing the cost opportunities, or the opportunity cost
Yeah.
rather. But you
It's
can get it. Ashley
yeah.
and I got Starbucks today. We were waiting in line to vote and we got Starbucks. It's okay to get it.
Yeah.
Just budget for it. That's
Yeah.
all.
I think that's something that I also respect about your course, is that you're never preachy, which I
Good.
I sometimes feel like has deterred me before from uh, taking a financial class or investing anything, because one, I am slash was a performer, so there's not a lot of disposable income to have. But even saying disposable income, it's like, why am I saying that? Because I've been trained to be like, oh, well, I can't invest that money to something that is going to help me, or, disposable income to me, the way that I'm even talking about right now, my Starbucks isn't disposable income to me because that's a necessity for whatever I want to do. So what I loved about the way that you structured it is that you really do are like, just once again, be honest and like be accountable for what you want to budget and what is going to work. And if you can't, if you can't, you can't. And I think that's something that our culture also has um, failed us on, is, as a 27, Ew, I just turned 27.
You're
as
so
a
young.
as a 20, oh, it was my birthday and I kept screaming I wanted to use more retinol, which is a skincare product that is supposed to tighten your face. And everyone was like, Jake, you can't be yelling, I want to do retinol. It sounds like you're doing some sort of drug or something.
I
um,
didn't know what it was. I assumed it was a drug.
no. It's skincare. But uh, so yeah, and now I lost my train of thought. But as a 27-year-old, I feel like I started seeing the path of, okay, well, I can open a credit card. I'm not under my mom and dad. Like, I can do this. I can pay for that. And like you said, it adds up more quickly than it does. It's like your credit score. Like, you can ruin your credit score like that, but it takes so much longer to build it back up. But something that I appreciated from the course was that it wasn't preachy. I didn't feel like dad was talking to me. I didn't feel like I was in trouble because I made mistakes in the past. It was more, okay, here's how we fix it. This is how we do it together. And also, when you sign up, you get to be added to the Facebook group, Financial Flippers, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I love Kyle always posts. He's like, "What does this mean to you?" Or why do you? And it could be so unrelated to actually what you're learning about at the time, but you have that thought, and you're like, what does that mean? Like, I could have the definition of budget the way that you explained it, but when you ask it, and I say, "What is budget to me? What does it mean to me today? What does it mean to me as a whole, and what does it mean to me as my future and my investment?"
Well,
So
let me flip the script on you, and I'll ask you the
yeah,
question.
yeah, please,
After
yeah,
taking the course, what
yeah.
does a budget mean to you?
A budget to me, like, look at me now, freaking out, like looking at my notes. Um, Today, right now,
Yeah.
in this moment, my budget to me means an organized plan of action and reaction. Um, what I've learned through social media, what I've learned through uh, just growing up, is a lot of things we deem as transactional. And whether that's currency or, I mean, physical money, or, likes or subscriptions or whatever it may be, I think a budget to me is a game plan, essentially, because it's an active thing. A game is ongoing, but you can have a plan for it, and you can make your moves before. Like, look at me making sports analogies, and I don't even watch sports, but like, I have the goal to make the touchdown, so I'm going to make the touchdown in this play, but I also don't know if there's going to be an interception, or I get tackled out of left field. That's baseball, right? Um,
It is.
anyway, you know what I'm
It's okay.
saying? I think it is a living, breathing thing, but it's a game plan for me. Does that answer the question? Because I can see
Yeah.
it go in.
There's no right or wrong answer.
I
I was
know,
just
but
curious.
I think it's that's what it is to me. At least right now, is a game plan. And I'm going through. I mean, we're all going through a lot of change in our lives, and realizing, okay, this is the outline, but it can change. Um, but I have
And
to
it will
stick.
change.
Yeah,
It will
absolutely.
absolutely change because life is going to throw you curveballs. And
Yeah,
Ash and I were building up our emergency fund, and we knew that we were building it up for life, but we didn't know what that was going to be. And it came in the form of, you know, well, traumatically, we lost our pup, but that was a curveball that life threw us. But we didn't have to worry about it financially because
right.
we were able to just focus on what was most important. I I I cannot stress enough how much getting control of our money has completely changed our lives.
Yeah. And I think something that I want to say publicly is, especially right now during this time, and we've all had crazy things happen that we never thought would happen. That's life. And yes, it's 2020, and yes, there's a lot of things that are not expected or unprecedented.
Mm,
Uh, but at the end of the day, it's still life. And even if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, these things still could and will happen. So
yeah.
having one less thing to worry about if you've set yourself up financially. Then at least you can say, yes, this sucks. Yes, I don't want to be going through this, but at least I've taken the time and the proper steps to be okay. That I can, one of the first things you say is save $1,000. And I don't want to like give away too much of the course, but
It's okay.
when you first read that, you're like, 1,000, that's a lot of money. At least for me it is. But when you break it down and you're like, okay, $1,000, what could I get with $1,000? How much was my flat tire? How much was this? These emergency things that I was like, well, now I don't have, $300 to spend on 2 new tires. But $300 or $1,000, it really, it puts into perspective of like, okay, maybe that's not that much money, but when I need that much money, it is a lot of money to pull from, So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you a few questions. I asked on Instagram. I went to my story and posted it. So these are like live, like within the past 20 minutes that people. I'm only going to do 4. And if you don't want to answer these, that's also fine. You can just what is it? Plead the
Don't want to
fifth?
answer them.
Yeah. Throw your hands up in the air. Okay. So one of the first questions is, how does one get out of massive credit card debt while unemployed?
While unemployed, I wouldn't worry about the debt while you're unemployed. Honestly, you're going through a financial storm right now. Being unemployed, and that's going to take all of your focus. So as much as you can keep current, that's what I would plan on keeping current. But really, what I would focus on is keeping your household in check. If there's a way for you to not be on unemployment, because unemployment is dismal,
Right.
and that won't solve your problems. But if there's a way to be on the other side of that in terms of another opportunity or other employment, even for the short term, if that helps you, then go ahead and go after that. I think I teach this in the course as well too, but there's a little bit of a real talk aspect that you have to have. And while numbers is only 20% of it, the rest is all mindset and what do we really need and what do we want and contentment and all that kind of stuff. You have to be able to afford your basic needs.
Right.
And those basic needs are also going to be all of those bills and those. And so what are other ways that we can generate more money, or what are ways that we can eliminate some of the spending? But I wouldn't worry about paying off debt in the middle of the unemployment season, because you're going through a financial storm that takes priority.
Yeah. That answered another question. Perfect. You killed 2 birds with 1 stone.
How about that?
I think a lot of people are really worried right now. Obviously, I'm worried. So something that a lot of people have asked is like, how do I pay my rent? How do I get through the things that I normally would be able to get through that now I'm on unemployment? Which you answered that so gracefully, and it sucks. And I hate that that's your answer. I wish you could just say, well, set aside $5 a day. And this is but sometimes you don't have $5 to set aside a day.
Right.
But I think that's also why it's so important to set yourself up so that if something like this happens again, or you go through your own personal storm, you have that stability and understanding. Even, knowledge is power. And if you have the knowledge to change the situation before you're in the situation, I think that's really important. So
society is not good at helping people plan ahead for this. We are a society that is completely focused on consumption. And so that's all it is. It's all, oh, you need this, you have to have this. And so maybe look at what you spend money on, and that's what's important to you. If Ashley and I were spending $1,200 a month on average eating out every month, we had no clue that we were spending that kind of money. No clue.
yeah.
If you would have asked us if we had $1,200 to eat out, we wouldn't even.
Absolutely
There's
not.
no way. There's
Yeah.
no way. But apparently that was important enough for us to spend money on. But now it's not. It's not important enough.
Right.
The plush that you had talked about, it's not important enough.
Yeah.
I'm going towards something much bigger, and it requires these small, I don't want to say childish sacrifices, but children act on what feels good right now.
Mm-hmm.
and adults devise a plan like a budget, and we follow a plan, you
Absolutely.
know. And so really, I'm not trying to call somebody a child versus an adult. I was just giving an analogy, um but having a plan through those crises are so helpful. It's like having an outline when you're writing a paper. I
Yeah.
never wanted to write an outline. And so writing a paper, I'd stare at an empty screen and be like, oh, this sucks. I
Right.
don't know what to write about. But the easiest paper I ever wrote was like a 25-page research paper in college. And it was so easy to write, but it was because the homework had already
You did
had
it.
me
Yeah.
do the outline. So
Yeah.
it was so easy.
I,
That's
I,
what that is.
when I first started YouTube, I was like, oh, I'm just going to turn the camera on, see what happens. And now here we are, like writing things out.
No,
And, and I think, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think that the quality of my videos, just from doing that, just having an idea of what I want to talk about, has already gone up. You know, at least I feel more comfortable. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters with this. But yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, and I agree. I think we've been raised to everything is instant gratification. So whether that's feeling good or, you know, spending money on ourselves because we wanted the new shirt that came out or the new iPhone or X, Y, and
yeah.
Z, like, yeah.
And
The
going
last,
back to what you were saying
yeah,
about being a performer and saying not having disposable income, that's like ingrained into us. How many
yeah,
times, I mean, like from when I was a kid, I was like, I'm going to be a performer. That's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to major in music theater. That's just what I'm going to do. But how many times are we told, well, you don't go into it for the money,
you got to
or
have a backup plan.
you're going to be a starving artist, or
Yep.
have a backup plan. It's right. But once you know how it works, then you go, oh, that's not worth my time. And it's not because you're better than that. You value things differently. You see value in a whole different perspective, in a way that serves you and fulfills you, instead of trying to fulfill um, this desperate need
Yeah.
for anything to happen.
Absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, you guys paid off your debt while you were full-time performers, correct?
That yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if anyone is watching this, I mean, like, oh, well, I'm sure they were doing other things on, you know, to no, the full-time performers. And the reason we're not full-time performers right now is obviously due to circumstances that are out of our control. So,
Mm-hmm.
the last question I want to ask you that someone asked is advice on paying back the forbearance on your properties or save. Oh, I guess it's a would you rather pay back the forbearance on your properties or save those funds to invest elsewhere? I guess,
Yeah, to me, that's like, if you're going to invest it, then that's no different than you saying, I'm going to go borrow $250,000 because it's only 2.5% interest, or it's 0% interest right now, and I'm going to go invest that. You're not, what I would say is, this individual isn't really looking at the risk, and not really able to, it's hard to quantify risk. But if one piece of that puzzle breaks, there's a saying that debt only works if everything works.
mm,
Oh, well, I'll just put this on my credit card and I'll pay it back. Furniture. So we bought furniture on credit, and we're like, oh yeah, add the dining room set. $6,000 later, we're walking out and we're like, yeah, that was a very successful trip. Let's
yep,
go get a Starbucks because we were successful today.
yep,
And and they're like, oh, well, you have 5 years to pay that off. It's only 100. Why do they give you 5 years to pay that? Well, statistically, you're going to not pay it
pay it
off
off.
in that amount of time.
And then they're
And
going to make more
so,
money on you on the interest of it.
because all of that comes back in full, you know,
Absolutely.
it's just a dangerous game. And that's all it is. It's not that you can't do it. It's not that you shouldn't do it. I just think it's unwise, because you're putting yourself in a more vulnerable position than you deserve to put yourself in. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think it takes more than it gives, making that kind of a decision.
Yeah. Um, I, I'm so thankful that you came on. I could sit here and talk all day long to you about this. Is there anything that you would want to say to people that either want to take control of their life financially, or really anyone at this point, the floor is yours if you want, however you want to say it.
Well, this is just the first thing that comes to my mind, and it's because my wife and I have been talking about it. But even as performers, we're told constantly what we should spend money on. Oh, make sure you have the right headshots. You're spending money on these classes, these pay to plays with agents. These, you need to be on these networking sites. You have to, and nobody ever in all of, and I was in private school from kindergarten up until I graduated college. Never did anybody talk to you or me about managing money, especially in a career where it's going
Hard.
to be uneven. It's
Yeah.
not a consistent income. And so I've heard so often that, oh, well, we have an commission-based job, or inconsistent income, or it's irregular income, so I can't budget, it's impossible. No, it is so much more important for you to know how the money works and just what that opens up. And I know I come from a place that is on the other side of paying that stuff off. And so my perspective is much, much clearer.
Yeah.
But I know there's a way through that financial storm, and I know how beneficial it is to take control now, before you are in a position that is desperate, before you're on the brink of foreclosure or bankruptcy. Don't let that happen to you.
Yeah.
80% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. I thought I was the only person that had it figured out, or that didn't have it figured out, that everyone else knew, but that's not the case. And people just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think that does our younger generation such a huge disservice, because they don't think it's important, because they're not told it's important. They're
We
not
don't know.
shown
Yeah.
and taught that it's important. And it flows through so many more aspects of your life than you will know until it happens.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree
That
more
was
with
kind of
you.
a long-winded answer. I'm so
No,
sorry.
no, don't apologize. I couldn't agree more with you. That's kind of like what we talked about before we went on with this. It was like I didn't know. I didn't know that there's no right and wrong because I wasn't educated. So how do you expect someone to cross the street if you didn't teach them to look both ways?
But the
Um,
person has to want to be taught.
and
And
they have to want to look
as
both
much as
ways.
I
Yeah,
want that for everyone, and for you, I can't want it for you. I
yeah,
mean, I can, but I can't do it for you.
right.
You're the one that has to say, this is important to me, which
Yeah,
is why we talk about your why and what's at stake. For performing, what are the stakes if you keep going on the path that you're on?
yeah,
And think about that and just go, I don't want to go that way. I want to take care of it.
absolutely,
It's you taking control. You have a
absolutely.
superpower. You have the superpower inside you. You just need to unleash it.
You just have to do it.
Yeah.
Kyle, thank you so much. I'm going to put all of the links. So if people want to check out your courses, they can click the link below in the description, as well as your Instagram. And I can't thank you enough for doing this. I really enjoy these kind of settings because I don't have to worry about like editing a bunch of things, and it's just a conversation. So
Yeah.
thank you for everything. And I hope that you are doing well and staying safe right now.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks for having me.
Of course. Kyle, thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me. I really thought we talked about some really great things. I am very grateful for not only your friendship, but the work that you put into this amazing project and these courses. If you want to see what these courses can offer you, please click the link in the description below, as well as follow him at FTS Financial Coaching on Instagram. Always, please follow me at Jake Rora on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. If you have any questions, please leave those in the comments below, and I will make sure that Kyle sees them. As always, please be safe, be careful, make sure you are registered to vote, and always remember, there is nothing to prove, only something to share. I'll see you guys in the next one.